Cait McCarry, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my dissertation project, which is looking at the migratory pathways of hawksbill turtles in the Caribbean Sea. So little's known about the navigational methods of marine turtles, migratory marine turtles, but especially hawksbill turtles, as it was only we only found out relatively recently that they were a migratory species. We do, however, know that they are somewhat temperature dependent, as they are located circumglobally in the tropics. Also, evidence has shown that marine turtles that experience very cold temperatures actually suffer from a slowing in their metabolic rate, which reduces their movement and foraging capabilities. So I therefore wanted to see if water temperature or sea surface temperature had an effect on the migratory pathways of post-breeding hawksbill turtles in the Caribbean Sea. So in order to investigate this question, I overlaid satellite telemetry data for sea turtle migrations onto global 4-kilometre daily resolution sea surface temperature data, and then I extracted from these layers on GIS, I extracted temperature values for each of the location points along the migration. So, and then from that I created histograms of the to have a look and see if there was a range of temperatures at which the hawksbill turtles were likely to stay at. So here are two of the maps I created. The first one shows a migration from November 2004 to March 2005, and then moving from point A over here to point B. And then the second one shows a migration from September 2010 to January 2011. Again, they're moving in the same direction. And the sea surface temperature maps show the average sea surface temperature for the entire migratory period. So my findings so far show that there are actually two distinctive migratory corridors in the Caribbean from this island of Bonaire. I decided to focus on one, this one shown in figures 2 and 4. I didn't actually find any distinctive temperature patterns in the Caribbean Sea. It's all relatively warm, and the range of temperatures is quite narrow and quite warm, all above 296 Kelvin mostly. And I also found that the temperature values that corresponded to each turtle location, which are shown in figures 3 and 5, that there was quite a small range in that as well. And also I found that from as you guys can see from figures 2 and 4, I found that there are actually small variations in the migratory corridors here, and here's some more examples. But these don't seem to correlate with any specific temperature differences between the two periods. So these results indicate that although we do see that hawksbill turtles migrate long distances and use narrow migration corridors, they don't necessarily correspond to temperature differences or temperature values. This may be because the Caribbean Sea is relatively warm and the turtles are unlikely to experience low temperatures that could affect their metabolic rate, and therefore unlikely to divert their migration pathways as a result. Also, there is no specific thermal corridor in the Caribbean, and so it's difficult to see a direct correlation between the migratory pathways and a temperature corridor or a temperature in general. The range of temperatures that the turtles were found to be at is quite small, which could indicate that they have a thermal preference, but it also could just reflect the very small variation in temperatures in the Caribbean as a whole. To continue my study, I'm actually going to look at 3 more migratory pathways between the periods of 2004 to 2011. And I'm also going to have a look at the effect of surface currents on their movements, as I've read in the literature that surface currents could also be a factor in their navigational methods. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.